Expedition Gambia is proudly sponsored by Gambia Tourism Board. Well, hello viewers, welcome to another exciting episode of Expedition Gambia. My name is Fatou Ellika Muloshi. I know that you might be wondering, why are they having, a discussion instead of an out and about? But this is Expedition Gambia, and everything relating to tourism, relating to anything that you think is about promoting the Gambian brand, we definitely bring it on Expedition Gambia. And that is why today, this is what we will be doing. And with me, I have very wonderful guests that are joining me on the program today. We are going to be talking about a very important topic today, which is fishing. But before I do anything, I'll introduce my guests. And right by my side here, I have a very renowned face. Most of you know already. Mr. Kebe is not a stranger in this country, and he's no other than Usman G.A. Kebe. He happens to be the Senior Officer, Public Relations and Communications at the GT Board. Mr. Kebe, you're welcome to Expedition.
My pleasure.
And right after Mr. Kebe, we have another gentleman who happens to be a Gambian, but he is based in Sweden. He is Farmer Akoli, and he runs a tour operating company in Sweden. Farmer, you are also welcome to Expedition. And lastly, I have another gentleman here who is also from Sweden, I believe, and he's no other than Johan Bruman, who happens to be like myself, a TV personality, at the same time an angler in Sweden. You're also welcome to the Expedition.
Thank you. I do a TV show called Destination Fishing. It's a show about fishing, which is the basic part of it, but it also contains like traveling parts, especially local food, drinks, and music, and for example, where we stay. So it's sort of a feel-good program with fishing as the base. And we go all over the world, trying to find good spots to fish and good spots to eat and good spots to drink. A very nice job it is. And we were here 2 months ago in January for the first time for me in Gambia. We were filming Gambia and Guinea-Bissau, and I really liked it here, so I'm back here to check things out. Yes.
I'm from Bakau, the Gambia, live in Sweden. I currently run a tour operating company called Norgam. Norgam means north in Swedish, and Gambia, of course, the Gambia, where I am originally from. My tour operating company is focused on promoting sport fishing because we feel that there is a big potential for sport fishing in destination Gambia. And Sweden, the sport fishing market is growing and is very trendy. So in collaboration with my colleague Johan, we met through an exhibition, which takes place every end of March in Sweden, which attracts anglers from different parts of the world and renowned sport fishermen. And that's where we learn to know with one another. And I invited him to come and visit me in the Gambia for us to explore the opportunities on promoting sport fishing in the Gambia, and that's why he is here. So it's very exciting, and I think Gambia has a very good competitive advantage in comparison to other countries because Gambians are very hospitable. We have a very nice climate, nice food, so that's an added value for our product in promoting sport fishing.
I do know that when we talk about GT Board, we're always talking about tourism, and one might be wondering, why are they talking about fishing today? Tell us about this.
Thank you very much, Fatou. First of all, I want to say fishing is part of tourism, especially when it comes to people traveling from one destination to another destination for fishing. That's why tourism matters in that. But the Gambia Tourism Board, we have developed a product called boat fishing competition, which happens in every November. And we developed this together with stakeholders within the fishing industry. And it is launched at Denton Bridge every November, where we engage anglers, boat owners, and we have anglers coming all the way from UK to patronize that program. And we also support a British called Bernard Westgard, who also does beach casting, meaning you stand on the beach and then you start casting. That is happening this weekend. We're going to kickstart that this weekend, but it's been happening many years here. May I also tell you why Johan and Famara are here? They had a meeting with our board of director chairman, Abdoulaye Baksture, who saw that it is fitting what they are doing and what we are doing in the Gambia. How can we synchronize? How can we link? And how can we be partners? So I think that's very important, because they're in a field, fishing is important as much as it is important to us. So I think fishing as a product entails some kind of tourism element. So Fatou, this is interesting.
Very, very interesting. And I'd like Johan to come in here, because you're an angler and you've been really anchoring fishing activities there in Sweden. Tell us, how is the fishing environment like in Sweden, and comparing it to the Gambia, what are the things that are in common there that you've already observed?
If I start with what's different, it's a lot warmer here. That's for sure. For at this stage, we have at this moment we have about minus 30-40 degrees up north in Sweden, which means we have a very short season when we don't have ice. We have like 6 months to fish. In Sweden we have a lot of rivers and lakes mainly. The ocean is not that good fishing in. The Baltic Sea is not that fresh, but the ocean, the lakes and the rivers are very good. And here the difference is here the fishing is mainly based on the species from the ocean in the rivers, but they also live in the ocean, which is a big difference. But what is common is still fishing. We don't have the same species, and but still we can use the same kind of gear, and we have the same target group. The same kind of people wanting to fish here as in Sweden, for sure.
Very interesting. But I come to you, Famara. You are actually Gambian, and you've been coming to the Gambia even though you were based in Sweden. And you do know that we really believe in agriculture a whole lot. But now we're talking about fishing, which is also part of agriculture. And we're talking about fishing as a sporting activity. Why is this important now? Why are we just not focusing on fishing and going to sell in the market, but we now want to promote it as a sporting brand? How important is that?
I think fishing as a product is very important. I mean, when you look at tourism demand, tourism is very diverse. You know, it's not heterogeneous. You know, so you cannot just define a particular industry in tourism as one segment. You know, so when you look, any activity in tourism has its own niche, and as a result we seem to target a special niche group, which are sport fishermen, and try to attract them to come and experience the Gambia. But agriculture too is also another niche of tourism. We have what we call agrotourism that could also be explored in terms of rainy season to attract a specific segment. So I think in a nutshell, what we're trying to do, we identify that there is a demand for sport fishing, and this is up market. We're not talking about people who come for sport fishing spend at least within a week about 2,000 to 3,000 euros. All right, and as a result, you also have to ensure that they have the right quality. So that can only be achieved if the right infrastructure is in place, the right logistics, the right gears, and the right sport. And that is what we're trying to establish as a tour operating company operating in Sweden, because we have a brand that we have to preserve. And obviously, as much as we are biased as Gambians, we have to ensure Destination Gambia can deliver. And this is the position that we're taking, and I am very convinced that we can deliver, because Gambia has all the potential to do that. And I think sport fishing will be something that will generate a lot of revenue for Destination Gambia.
Fatou, you talked about agriculture. I had always advocated this on my radio programs on West Coast Radio, that in 2006 there is what is called the Tourism Master Plan. Okay. And in this Tourism Master Plan there is a gap which we call leakage of about $348 million, which was equivalent to $12 million in 2006 in leakage, meaning the legumes, the vegetables, that are ordered into the hotels, it means the Gambian agriculture unit cannot supply the hotel chain when it comes to the quality products of what they may need. So it has to come from outside, which is somehow leaking to outside. But it could also be something. But here, on this program, we are looking at a specific niche market, which is fishing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you like fish.
I like fish.
Great. When we start this fishing competition, what we do every day, we have a target fish.
Okay.
Now, if we say today the target fish is barracuda, if you catch barracuda, you have 100 pounds waiting for you.
Wow.
100 pounds straight waiting for you. If you catch the biggest barracuda, the size, I mean the weight, if the weight of your fish overweighs all the other catches, that's another 100 pounds, which means you have scored 200 pounds in one day.
In fact, I was going to ask, give us a clear picture of how this activity is really going to look like. Because I was wondering, when we say fishing as a sporting activity, what do I do? Is it that they're going to race in the river, catch fish?
Fatou, when we started with 10 boats, fishing boats, and we have to hire these boats from local boat owners in the Gambia, and which means they are having nothing less than $12,000 at the end of the 4 days competition. So here I'm saying this so that people know that the benefits of tourism trickle down to the local people. And these 10 boats, we will position them in the river like 25 meters from each other. And they will line up. You can see them line up 25 meters from each other, and you can see a big line. And then when we want to start, we will blow something like a horn, pop, and everyone will now throw your rod. Yeah? Then fishing starts, and we will say 3 hours fishing from 12 to whatever time, and when the fishing stops, it stops. Now, like I said, if the day today is the target group is barracuda, if you catch barracuda, you have 100 pounds waiting for you at the end of the competition. Now, if your catch of the whole fish of the 4 days is heavier than everyone, that's another special prize. So this is interesting, but it costs money to get into the competition. Oh yes, oh yes. Well, the boat fishing competition, it was, I can't remember offhand, but it's about 300 or 400 pounds to get into the competition. But eventually you can win 1,000, 2,000 pounds out of that amount.
So this is really interesting. Now I want to ask whether the GT board has actually put into consideration, because I know that some people might lose, or there's nothing like losing, and isn't that amount a little bit on the higher side? Have you put that into consideration, and how are you making sure that it is accessible? Because we have Tenje, but we have Bakau, we have all these fishing areas. How are you working in terms of bringing all these anglers together to be part of this competition? Have you started that already?
Yes, what we do is these 4 days, we will say the first day we will go to Barra Point, around Barra, and we will work with the fisheries department so that the local fishermen will avoid fishing in that area, so that the place is rich with fish before the competition. And after the competition, it's free for the local fishermen. Now the next day we could say we will go to Senegambia Rift. And the next time we could say we are going to Jere Kungoto. Jere Kungoto is around Nyomi. So we have different spots. Yeah, this is what we do. But we work together with stakeholders like the Ministry of Fisheries, the Gambia Maritime Administration, because it is the Gambia Maritime Administration that checks the boats, whether they are seaworthy, before we can get somebody from Sweden, England, or anywhere to get on the boat. We want to make sure that everything is standardized and everything is in quality. But I can tell you, Fatou, this is interesting, and we will get you in our next fishing competition so that you see how it goes.
Definitely. I cannot really, in fact, miss that. But let's go back to Sweden, and let's hear from our Swedish, if I can say that. How do you normally do it? How do you do your fishing activity, your fishing as a sporting activity back in Sweden? How is your own like?
Well, it's not a big difference from here, actually. We use different methods in the northern parts of Europe. For the moment, spin fishing with a spinning rod and a spinning reel, and fly fishing is very, very popular methods. And for the moment, we have like a very huge trend, which is predator fishing. We fish for predators, which means we fish for fish eating other fish, feeding on other fish. And species, for example, that would be very interesting for northern anglers would be tarpon, barracuda, bajo, dorado, a lot of different species we have here. And I think when looking at the fishing tourism from the northern parts of Europe, it's very, very important for you to find the right species, because there's a big differences in interest in different species. For the moment, I think the absolute hottest species you have here for European anglers would be tarpon, for sure. So we have some ideas, and what me and Famara are looking at now is especially that part of fishing. You have great possibilities here, for sure.
Farmer, let me come to you, because I do know that you've done your assessment possibly of the fishing industry, and I would like you to tell me in what ways are you planning on intervening in this particular fishing sport and activity that the Gambia is also about to host come November.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very significant. Right now, what we're trying to assess is that we have to make a prospect. What we mean by prospect in fishing terminology means that we have to assess the water, and we also have to assess the fishing sport. As he mentioned, tarpon is very, very, very popular. We call it the Silver King. Yeah, we call it the Silver King in terms of sport fishing. And, people will pay a premium just to get a tarpon. It's not the fish, but its behavior when you cut it, That's an experience. So it is very important that we will look into. I'm here for a while. I'll be going back to Sweden maybe very soon. But we will also look at the logistics. That are the boats, we need to look at that, because you need to have the right logistics to go out in the sea. We also have to look at the behaviors of other fishermen, because in terms of sustainable tourism, which we advocate, we always want tourism to be sustainable. And in order for tourism to be sustainable, we have to change our behavior. So normally we have a catch and release policy, but we also have to apply certain limitations for people not to overfish our waters. If they do that, then the industry will just fade away, and that is not acceptable. So what we also doing is that when we talk about sport fishing, we just look beyond, beyond the competition. We want all year round tourism that is pronounced, and we also have to identify the waters. We have what we also call blue water, deep sea fishing, and that can be attractive during the rainy period, when the waters are warm, But we also look at the food. We're trying to give a holistic experience to our customers. So we have to look Gambia as a destination, not even Gambia, but West Africa. So our perception, in source market, when they come to Africa, sometimes don't talk about Africa. They don't talk about Gambia. They talk about Africa. So that perception is what we're trying to change together with Johan. That's why he's here. We're going to make a lot of programs, and together with the support of the GT board, I think we can change that perception. And Johan, as a TV celebrity, he has a lot of influence. People will listen to him, and he's here. He loves the Gambia. He was here in January, and he loves it. Every time we drive, he always tell me, well, this is an unbelievable country. So I think this is what our position is. And as a Gambian in Sweden, I am associated with both culture. I know how the Swedish think, and I know the Gambia. So I am a very good bridge for both culture, and that gives me a competitive advantage to promote both Gambia and also to position Gambia in Sweden.
Interesting. And I do know that, Mr. Kebe, November is really a perfect time to have such an activity. But then it's also important, like we always say, to promote inbound tourism. How are we working towards creating the awareness on this particular activity? How are you making sure at your own level that, we have a lot of people that are already in the picture that such an activity is going to happen come November, and how they also going to contribute towards making the program a huge success?
Thank you very much, Fatou. I would thank institutions like GCAA, GIA, Swiss Tavern, Beach Bar and Restaurant. Now they have a hotel. I mentioned these people because they sponsor. Because when I mentioned to you about 300, 400 pounds, you think it's huge, yeah? But these companies, these institutions, they sponsor a Gambian angler, a Gambian fisherman. people will say fisherman, but in the fishing terminology, it's an angler. Yeah, they will sponsor an angler, and they don't want a butut out of that. Whatever the angler wins is his. But sometimes what we also do is the catches of, like for example, if GCAA sponsors Mr. Kebe, and I happen to catch a barracuda, 2 big ones, I would say this one is for the GCAA, and they would take it to one of the guys there. But anyway, we are trying to promote it on our radio show every Wednesday at West Coast Radio by enlightening the Gambian people that this is what we intend to do by promoting fishing for that sector, because it is the Gambians who is in that sector who will benefit, not Gambia Tourism Board. Our mandate at the in the National Assembly, as the National Assembly has given us our mandate on the Act, is to promote Gambia as a tourist destination. And in promoting Gambia as a tourist destination, we also develop products, and this is a product. So I am happy that we will be working in the near future with Famara and Johan, and we expect many Swedes to come, those who love fishing, to come and fish.
Very well. Having said that, because I think it's quite interesting. I went to Tangier the other time, and we had time with these fishermen, or you call it anglers, and they were telling us that, and I saw quite a number of fishes. They were big fishes, very interesting. And I asked them, so how do you keep these commodities? Because I understand that they do have problem of storage facilities. These fishermen also have their own problems at their level, and it is important that in as much as we're promoting fishing as a commodity for tourism, it is also important to look into their problems and solve those problems as well. How are you working with the let's say the stakeholders involved at the GT board level in making sure that their problems are also addressed, in as much as we want to make their own industry a commodity for tourism? It is important we also address their challenges. How are you looking into that?
The way we are looking into that, we know it's the Ministry of Tourism and Culture, Ministry of Fisheries, and Department of Fisheries. These are 2 bodies. The Ministry of Fisheries and the Department of Fisheries, they work together, but they have different functions. The Ministry is the policy-making body, and the Department of Fisheries is the actual implementer of the policies. So we, Gambia Tourism Board, we work with the Department of Fisheries and also the Gambia Maritime Administration, and also the Fishermen Association of Denton Bridge, the Fishermen Association in the Tourism Development Area, which goes as far as Tangier. So what we do is we convene meetings. We sit with them, we discuss with them, and also look what is possible. Famara has just talked about responsible fishing. When we have the competition, we would say a fish of this size, when you catch it, you release it back into the ocean. That is responsible fishing, because we want it to grow and we want it to multiply. But we would always say that this size is acceptable in the fishing competition, but this other little size is not acceptable. When you catch it, release it back to the river. So I think all this is one way, not only to educate Gambians, but also to do fishing responsibly.
Very well. And that is very, very important, Mr. Kerry. And now that we are almost getting closer to our time, I think it's important for us to just reiterate once more the importance of this activity and why it is important for all Gambians to come together and contribute in making fishing a commodity to attract tourists in the country, but also to improve the livelihood of these anglers.
Yes, you are right, Fatou. I think fish goes beyond just putting it in the plate. Because the scale of the fish, the bones, could be processed to become manure for our gardens, for our farms and things like that. So the intestines and other parts of the fish could also be processed for chicken feed and many other things, many other products. But I think it's good to work with stakeholders within that area. And in the Gambia Tourism Board, we work with the Gambia Hotel Association for the provision of accommodation when they fly from Sweden to the Gambia, or when they fly from England to the Gambia. We also work with the Fishermen Association, like I said earlier on, because they are into the product. They are already there, so we just facilitate and empower them. But also the benefits of tourism should trickle down to the local people. We believe in that. We believe when tourism is on and going, the fishermen should benefit. The role of the Gambia Maritime Administration, like I said, is to check on the boats whether they are seaworthy. That's one. They also test the captains, meaning the skippers, the one who drives the boat. We don't call him a driver, we call him a skipper.
Okay.
Yeah. So this, yes. So the skippers are also tested by the Gambia Maritime Administration to make sure that they know the creeks and they know how to take a turn and how, just to make sure that the guests are very safe. So I think that's very important.
Very, very important. And I do know that our guests might also want to add a few things on that before we go.
Yes, security always comes first, I think, and that's very wise. This way to work, I think. Yeah, but how I see Gambia is things are in order here. I feel safe here, so I trust on you thinking the right way when it comes to competitions and everything. And I look forward a lot to looking into this part more in the near future. So angling used to be like a smaller spare interest. Today it's the biggest hobby or spare interest or sports in number of people doing it and in turnover. In Europe there's nothing bigger. In Sweden we have 2 or 3 million people out of 9 million people that puts fishing at their biggest hobby. So it's suddenly just in a few years, like 7, 8, 9 years lately, fishing turned to a great business, and it's exploding.
And it's
So-
a
so-
prestige.
It is. We used to be like strange guys in green clothes, climbing around the bush, but today is totally different. The gear and the clothing, everything is cool.
brand.
Yes, it's a cool world. So that's about it.
And I know that it's important now that it's not only a national thing, but it's like it's even going to the international level. And I do know that with the intervention of both of you, we'll have this activity reach to another level. Mr. Akuli.
I think we have to remember one thing. Gambia is a very nice country. You realize that when you travel in different part of the world. And the unique selling point for Gambia is its proximity to Europe, its climate and its people, because tourism is all about people, and you cannot buy hospitality. Gambians are naturally hospitable, and I think that is important for Gambia as a destination to preserve that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kebe, Farmer Okoli, and Johan Brewman. And you've already had, this is going to be a really huge event come November. And I'm sure this is not going to be the last time we'll be talking about this. Before the program comes, we're definitely going to keep talking about it so that more people get to know about the event and the importance attached to fishing, but also making fishing a commodity for tourism. So you fishermen out there, you anglers, you people that like fish a lot, like myself, watch out for this event. We'll come more on the program to keep talking about it so that when the event comes, we all get to go to the places and be a part of this. This was all we had time for on Expedition. I am your presenter, Fatou Ellika Muloshi. Till we come your way next week, same time. It's bye for now. Expedition Gambia is proudly sponsored by Gambia Tourism Board.